phenomenal. I love the beard look.
I think I couple it with the suspenders, and I already got my outfit for breakfast with Santa.
Hi, Mr. Jaffe.
Is this more Santa-esque?
Okay, so let's see who we have on. Okay, so I am going to get started with the technology portion just so that we don't, run over too much. I'm seeing that the two of the people who had asked questions are actually not on the call yet, so I'll wait and answer those after. So I'm going to start with a question that was asked at the middle school level about accessing textbooks via Clever. So I do want to let you know that at this time, there's really no way for you to put the textbook directly into Clever, or at this time, we don't actually have the textbooks directly in Clever where the student can just click on an icon and then the book opens up. We do have apps available for all of the curriculum. So if the students log in through those apps to the curriculum, then they would be able to access their textbooks that way. But as of right now, we don't have like one-click access on an icon to a specific textbook. That being said, if you contact your assistant principal or department head, all they would have to do is find out who makes the textbook and then figure out how that company integrates with Clever. And then we may be able to get the textbooks one click that way. So there's no way for you to do it right now on the teacher side of things, but if you do ask your assistant principal or department head, they might be able to troubleshoot that for you. I did try to log in under my teacher account, copy the link, and then insert the link into Clever. That really only works if the students already open the curriculum associated with that link. And even so, I can't promise you that that will take the students directly to the book because I think the link might be associated with the teacher account. So that's something that you could potentially try, but I don't want to make any promises that that would work. Okay. The next question, let me just see if these people are on the call. They are not. I will show you how to do this though, and then if they come on or if they watch the video later, they'll be able to see it. Somebody asked how they can add an audio file to a Google slide, and that's really simple. I'm just going to share my screen with you right now. So if I open this Google slideshow that I have, all I have to do is go up to Insert, Audio, and then I can choose an MP3 recording from my Google Drive. So basically, if you do create an audio recording on your computer, in order for you to access it and upload it into Google Slides, you're going to have to add it to your drive. Okay. So if you are working from a PC, it's pretty easy to find the program that allows you to create audio recordings. You're just going to go down here to your search bar and type in voice recorder. You should get a program that pops up that just allows you to, right here, you just click on the record button and then you can record your voice, and then you can save it. Then from there, you just want to drop that recording, that saved recording from your hard drive into your Google Drive so that you can access it to input it into your slideshow. Once you do insert it into the slideshow, I'll just show you what it looks like. You're going to want to share it with everybody. And then it appears as a little button like this. So you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. If you go over here to the right, there's some formatting options. So you could have it automatically start playing when you click on it. You could have it start playing either when you click on the button, or it could automatically play when you get to that slide. It could automatically start playing when you get to that slide. You could also put it on a loop, and then you can change things like the color, and then the size and rotation, and just the way that the button looks visually. So there we go for the audio. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay. So the last question that was asked was about Clever and Canvas being able to speak to each other. I wasn't quite sure if there was an issue or if it was just a general inquiry about how they work or speak to each other. You can input a link to Canvas in Clever. There are some, basically you would do that the same way that you would insert, any other link into Clever, like your Zoom link going over to add on your teacher page or your My page, and then just, adding in a link to it. Clearer instructions on that and clearer instructions on Canvas and Clever, and more detailed instructions can be found in the staff drive, the staff shared drive at the high school. I also wanted to show you that on the EPS virtual learning site, if you go up to the top bar, you will see a Canvas button, and there are tons of tutorials on how to use Canvas, and just a lot more information on how you can use Canvas on this website. So you might want to take a look at that if you have any more questions about Canvas. So now that I've addressed the 3 questions that were brought up from the registration process, we still have about 5 minutes before I wanted to start the Nearpod tutorial. If anybody has any additional questions, you can throw them in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. And if I can't, then I'll do my best to find an answer and send it to you. That being said, I am not a Canvas expert. I don't know if you heard me mention it at the beginning. I work at the K through 8 level, so I don't even have an access to a Canvas account. So I'm not the best person to ask about your Canvas questions. So you might want to just send an email with those to the VLL team. But otherwise, I could probably help. And to answer your question, Brittany, this is being recorded, and it's going to be posted on the EPS virtual learning website, and I'll send the link to the recording to everybody who is invited to this meeting. No questions? Okay, great. Then we'll get started with Nearpod. It's a really great resource. I think you guys are going to love it. So just to clarify what Nearpod is, and I'm just going to go to their website first of all, very quickly. So Nearpod is a platform. So it has a website, and it also has a Google add-on available. And basically what you can do with Nearpod is you can create interactive slideshows on their website, or if you're using the add-on in Google Slides, you can add interactive Nearpod slides to your Google shows or to your Google slideshows. And basically what you can do is you can launch these slideshows either live, so you can be on Zoom with your kids launch Nearpod slideshows, and it will open them in a new screen for your students. And then you can progress them through the slides and they can interact with some of them. So they can answer questions, they can, do polls, they can watch videos, they can listen to audio. There are tons of things, tons of interactive tasks that you can have them do. And as they complete these tasks, you can see them on the teacher side being submitted. So it's a great way to, number one, get the students interacting with your slideshow and interacting with your Zoom presentation. And it's also a really great way to gauge who's understanding, because you can see who answers what. So you can see the answers to each of your questions from each of the students. So we'll have the students' names attached to them. The other option is to provide these slideshows to students as assignments in Google Classroom. I'm not quite sure about the integration with Canvas, but you can assign it as an assignment in Google Classroom. And essentially, the students can progress through the slideshow at their own pace for independent work and complete the slides. And while they're doing that, so if they're on Zoom and you're just having them go through it at their own pace, you can watch as they submit materials or tasks so that you know where they're at. Then at the end of the lesson, you can take a look at a report and it will show you, participation, what the students responded. So open-ended questions, if they drew pictures, what those pictures look like. If they, got 100% or like the percentage of questions that they got correct on a quiz. So basically what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take you to Nearpod. I'm going to show you how you can either sign up or log in. And then we're going to look at what the platform itself looks like. I'm going to take you through a quick Nearpod lesson, and then I'll show you briefly how to construct one. So basically, when you get to Nearpod, so this is the main website, you can either log in or sign up down here. You want to log in or sign up with your Everett account. So I've already signed up. It's very easy to do. You just, sign up with your Google account. And then you just have to tell them, what your role is at the school that you work at. I'm going to go over here and click login with Google. And I'm going to log into my Everett account. Okay, so when you sign up for a Nearpod account, it's going to automatically sign you up for a free account. The free account, it's also called the silver account, does have a few limitations, but I don't necessarily think that they're anything we have to worry about. One of the limitations is that you can only have 40 users per session. So basically only 40 people at one time can be watching your live Nearpod lesson if you're launching it live, or using the same access code to open the Google assignment. So I'll show you what I mean by that in a little while. But this, this might not work if you have a class size of more than 40 people. And if you want to display it to more than 40 people at one time. If you have, multiple classes that are less than 40 people, then it should be fine. There's also only 100 megabytes of space available in your library. I haven't found that the videos take up too much space, but you are able to just delete videos from your library once you're finished using them, and then you could just add new ones. So I haven't found that to be very problematic. The other thing is that there's tons of ready-made, pre-made lessons and content on Nearpod that you will have access to, but some of it you might need a premium account to access. So you won't be able to access all of it, but you'll be able to access a good deal of it. So when you log into Nearpod, it looks like this. To always get back to the main screen, you're just going to want to click on this Nearpod, the Nearpod logo on the left-hand side. So if I click on it, you'll see it's just, you know, it keeps me here, but I have these few options, these 4 options of where I can go on the left-hand side. So if I want to find Nearpod content, if I want to use pre-made lessons, I'm going to go to the Nearpod library. And as you can see over here on the left, I have, you know, the option to search either lessons or videos. I also have the option to select state standard, to sort my videos or filter my videos by state standard. So if I select Massachusetts and then I select ELA, all of the content that's going to be, that Nearpod is going to be showing me aligns with Massachusetts state standards for ELA. I can either even further sort that by selecting a particular grade level. Okay, so I'll go to 4th grade. So now here you go. I have several lessons on ELA that align with Massachusetts 4th grade standards for 4th graders. And what I'm going to do is I am going to show you a lesson now. I'm actually going to show you a science lesson because it's a little bit shorter. I'm going to refresh that page so that it shows my science lessons. Okay, so it looks like it's only coming up with my ELA. So I do want to take this filter off. I'm going to go over here where it says showing results for Massachusetts ELA to 4th grade and delete that. And I'm going to go Massachusetts Science 4th grade. Okay. Now I'm going to scroll all the way down and I want to show you guys this lesson. So I can preview all of the lessons before I assign them to students or I decide to use them so that I know what they contain. So I clicked preview. And over here, you're going to see, I don't know if you can see it, but over here, you're going to see where it says Massachusetts. So it shows the standard, the science standard that it addresses for Massachusetts. If you go over here to info, it's also going to give you a little bit more information about what the lesson is about. And if I click here on preview, it's just going to allow me to go through all the slides so I can see, you know, what the lesson actually contains. So there are some directional slides in here for teachers as well. I don't think we've hit them yet, but oh, like this slide, for instance, materials and preparation. We can remove those slides so that your teachers don't see them, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So once you've decided, okay, you know, I really like this lesson and what it has to offer, I'm going to go over here to add to my library. So now this lesson has been added in my library and I can launch to teach it. I'm going to say show in my library so that it opens the lesson inside my library. Okay. And now I want to edit it because I don't want to use all of the things, or I don't want to show all of the slides that are currently in here. So if I click on edit, it's going to ask me if I want to duplicate the lesson. I'm going to say yes, so that I have a copy of the original. And here you're going to see all of the slides. So we have some static slides, which are not going to be interactive for the students. And then we have some slides that have either web content or they have either content that is specific to Nearpod, or they have interactive activities associated with them. So I don't want this static slide. I want to remove it because this is really for teachers. So I'm going to delete this. I also don't want this thank you slide or this credits slide. So I'm going to delete both of those. Okay. And if I wanted, I could also make other adjustments directly to the slides, but I'll show you that, how to do that in a little while when we talk about making a slideshow. But otherwise, all of these look good. So it appears, you know, I have my title slide, I have the directions, then I have a slideshow. Then it looks like I have some, you know, visuals for the students to explore. You know, a 360 panorama and this field trip, this virtual field trip. Then I have an open-ended question for them, another static slide, and then a draw it slide where they can draw or type an answer to a question. So now I'm going to save this and then I'm going to show you how to launch it. Okay, so now here we are, it's saved and it's in my library. And what I'm going to do is I am going to click on Teach. So now I have three options. I can either do this with live participation, live in Zoom, or student paced. I'm going to be honest with you, live with Zoom is not worth it. Basically what it does is it creates a whole new Zoom link that your students would have to, they would have to leave your meeting, click on the Zoom link to access the Zoom, and then it's basically just a regular Zoom session. There are no additional features that this integration offers that you can't do with live participation. So it's essentially the same thing, except that this launches a Zoom meeting for you if you hadn't already created a Zoom meeting for your students. I'm going to do this as live participation, but before I do want to show you how I would assign it as a student paced in assignment in Google Classroom. So if I were to assign this as student paced in Google Classroom, I would just click here where it says student paced. So you're going to see that they have this code, and I want to require student submissions. I do not want my students to be able to just go through the slides willy-nilly and not, you know, post anything or participate at all. Then I'm going to go over here to where it says Google Classroom. And if you were working in Canvas, like I said, I don't believe that there's like a direct integration, but you could always just copy the link. And then, you know, however you provide assignments in Canvas, you would have the link available and they would just have to click on that and it would still be student paced for them. But if you click on Google Classroom, it's going to prompt you to open your school Google Classroom. So here's my school account. I'm going to choose a class, sample class, and I'm going to choose an action. And I can either, you know, create it as an assignment, a question, an announcement, or a material. I'm going to use it as an assignment. I'm going to click go. And then it's going to take me to the assignments page. And I'm going to assign this as I would normally assign an assignment to my students. So it's on the Hoodoos. And then I want to assign it to all of my students. I'm just going to click assign. And it's all done. Now, if I said I don't actually want to assign this as an assignment, I want to launch it and I want to teach this live. So I want my students to see this during our Zoom meeting today. I'm going to click teach and then I'm going to click live participation. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the link and I'm going to copy it. Okay. Then I'm going to go to my Zoom class, like I am with you. And I'm going to drop the link in the chat. And if you all wouldn't mind clicking on the link, it is going to open up a new window for you and you are going to see what's on my page right now.
Adrienne, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Some of my students are struggling clicking on links in the chat, which is a separate issue. Could you copy and paste the link like in Google Classroom as an announcement and have them access it that way as well?
Totally.
Okay.
So did you all click on the link? Okay, so Audrey, you have to go to the chat and then you have to click on the link in the chat. And now it's going to open a new window. Okay, so I'm going to show you what it looks like on the student side, but I'm also going to show you what it looks like on the teacher side. So if you all wouldn't mind switching back to Zoom so that you can see my screen for a moment. As a teacher, I have a few options, okay? I can progress my slides using these arrows, so I can go back and forth. And when I progress them on my screen, it's going to progress them on your student's screen as well, okay? I can keep this in the student view if I want, or when the students are actually interacting with the slides, I can switch it to the teacher view, okay? Oh, so it might have actually been on the, so it was already on the, this is the teacher view. Okay. So if you go back to the Nearpod lesson, so switch your screen back to Nearpod instead of Zoom. I'm going to progress you guys through the lesson. So here is the first slide. It says, let's get started. It provides us with our directions about the hoodoos and learning about the hoodoos in Bryce Canyon. The next slide has actually 2 slides in it. So, it's a little slideshow. So within this one slide, I can, click up here to what are the hoodoos, but I can also click on slide number 2 that talks about where you can find them. Okay. So maybe I would go through these 2 slides with the students. And now I'm going to progress to the next screen. Now it says time to explore. The next 2 slides are interactive. So on your screen, for example, in the next slide, you can use your mouse to scroll through the panorama, through the panoramic photo. So, you can go back and forth. You can use your mouse to look to the left, to look to the right. It's a 360-degree photo. So you can give your students some time to explore that. Once you've finished, or once the teacher wants to, you can move them to the next slide. The next slide is again interactive. You'll notice that it says enter VR for virtual reality. If you click on that, it's going to, look like, oops, it is going to appear to be virtual reality. So the students will be able to, again, use their mouse to sort of scroll through or like turn the photo around to the left and look to the left and to the right. Okay. Once you've finished there, you're going to move on to your next slide. So now I have on your screen, if you want to switch back to Zoom for a second to take a look at what my screen looks like. So this is the student, this is going to be the student view. So it says, how do you think the hoodoos were created? And you can enter your answer, okay? If you press this button here, or if the students press this button, they're going to be able to use like an interactive reader to listen to the question, okay? And then they're going to be able to write their answer here, okay? So if you want to do that, please go ahead and write something there. It doesn't have to be the answer to this question, but write anything you want in that box. And I'm going to show you, if I switch back to teacher view, what it looks like on my screen. So I'm on my screen and I see Mo's answer. See Miss Levitt's answer. Everett did not purchase this, but it is free. Okay, so I see that I have 56% participation, 78. I'm still waiting. And I can share these answers with students. So say I really liked Victoria's answer, I can click share so that all of you can see what Victoria said on the student side.
Adrian, if you click share the student's answer, will it put the student's name down with it, or will it just give the answer?
So I believe that you can alter that. So if you go back to the, hold on, if you go back to the teacher side of things, do you see, are you looking at my screen right now?
I got both up. I'm dual monitored, man.
Oh, good. So if you look at my screen on the bottom right, it says hide student names.
Yep.
So right now, I think when it looks like this.
Oh, okay. Yep. Nope. I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So now I'm going to move on. You also can put timers on these activities. So if you wanted to say like, okay, you have 5 minutes, take a look at the timer, and that will count down on the student side of things. So, you know, you can have the students see how much time they have or how much time you are giving them and how much time you expect them to take to complete these tasks. So now I move to the next slide. So now I'm asking you to draw and label a picture of a hoodoo that reflects the information that you just learned. So students, if I'm on the student side of things, I'm going to switch back to the student view so you can see. Are going to get this information. So they're going to get these directions. They can click the button to hear, you know, what we want them to do, what the instructions are. And then they can use these buttons down at the bottom to draw. Okay. They do not have to just draw. There's also an option to write text. And there's also an option to insert Google Images. Okay. So they could type in, you know, their image. Oops. And then save it, and now it's going to upload it. Okay. And then when they're finished, they just click submit. Okay. On the teacher side, you're going to see all of your students' drawings. I can see them in progress and I can see them being submitted. So if you look at my screen, if you go back to Zoom, I'm sharing this with you, you can see, you know, that I can see everybody's work at the moment. Okay. So now that's the end of my lesson. I deleted the thank you slide, so this is where it sort of stops. If I want to end the lesson, oh, before I do finish the lesson, I do want to bring your attention to this add activity. So if you decided in the middle of teaching that you wanted to add another open-ended question, a different slide, you know, a true or false activity or another draw it or some web content, you can do that in the middle of your slideshow, okay? But once I'm finished, I'm just going to go to the center button where it says Nearpod, click on that, and then click End Session. So this is going to end the session for everybody who's logged in. So now I can go over here to reports. So I saw what everybody was doing in real time, but now I want to go and, you know, I want to add in like all that information either, you know, maybe into my grade book. So I'm going to go to reports. And while that opens, I'm going to click on the chat. Mo, I didn't So Mo asked, where is the timer? I didn't put the timer on these particular lessons, but I'm going to show you how to insert it when we create our own. So now I have these session reports. So if I click on this, I'm going to see that these are the grades from the students in this session. If I launched it again at a different time, it would show me the grades from all of this, from the other sessions that I launched as well. So now I can see this general student participation, whether like how many people answer the questions and how many people skip them. I can see the student engagement details on each of the features. So on the open-ended question and on the draw it. And now I have, you know, these percentages for participation for my students. Okay. I want to go. Oops. Okay. I can also download this report and save it to Google Drive, or I believe you can save it to your computer. I'm going to save the, and I actually want to, I want to download the student view as well. So I can see like student reports too, and I could send them to the individual students if I wanted to. So if I go here to share, I can email the report to somebody else. If I download the individual student reports, I can also share those so that the students can see how they did individually. So I can download Mr. Nauman's to my Google Drive. It's going to ask me to open Google Drive. I'll save it under, I think I made a folder for this somewhere, but I can't find it. So I'll just save it under tutorials. For some reason, it is not allowing me to save this. Not sure why. I'll figure that out and let you know why. But basically, it would provide only a report for a particular student. I can also save the PDF to my Google Drive, which did work the last time, so. So now my report is being processed. And if I go over here, I believe it's under tutorials. Don't know where it is. All right, well, I Googled it and here it is, I found it. Or like I searched in my Google Drive. I'm not exactly sure where they downloaded it to. But I am going to open it and show you what it looks like. So now it's a PDF. It shows me the answers to my open-ended questions for everyone. You know, poll stats. It shows me the answers to the draw it for everybody. Okay, and what it looks like for everybody. Okay, so now I have all this information on one document. So I don't have to open individual files to see what people did. I have this report here. I would highly, highly recommend saving these reports to your Google Drive, because if you have to remove lessons in your library to make space for new lessons, you won't be able to save these score reports. They will get deleted along with the lesson itself. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into Nearpod and I'm going to show you the different features that you can add in sort of how I would make one of these. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to X out of my session report and I'm going to go up to the top and you're going to see this create button. over here at the top, and I'm going to create a lesson. So the first thing that I need to do is add some slides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click add slide, and I have these options. I can either add, a regular slide that's going to look like a Google slide, where I can add in text, and I can add in pictures and videos and things like that. So it's just a standard slide, and I'm going to select that to start, as like a title slide. But then I have all these other options of types of things that I can select for content, as well as tons of options for interactive activity slides. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to select slide, and it's going to open a slide for me. And, I can choose over here for what do you call it? A theme. And I'm going to add, my theme is going to be, I want my students to learn about exploring Mars. So my theme is going to be red, and, I'm going to type in this, or okay. So now I can do a few things. I can add in some text if I wanted to write in a little explanation. I can add in a video, or I can add in an image or a GIF. Okay. If I go to images, I can go here to Google and just type in, Mars. Gives me a bunch of options. I click that one, save, and here we go. Here's my title slide. Now, if I want to, I can add audio directly to this slide. So if I press the audio button, I can record myself. So if I had written a bunch of text on here and I wanted my students to be able to hear it because I had assigned this as a student-paced lesson, I would just click audio recorder, and then I would record my voice, and the students will be able to hear it, okay? I could also just add an audio file if I had already, if I had a pre-made audio file, okay? You can also change the layout of your slide. So you can have a title, plus another element. You could have up to 4 different things on the slide. So if I wanted 4 pictures or a picture and a video, I could do that, or I could have a title with 2 elements, okay? I can also add different backgrounds. So if I wanted my background to be a picture of Mars, I could type in Mars here and upload a picture to be a background. So there are tons of things that you can do to make the slides your own, okay? So now I'm going to save and I'm going to exit, and this will be my first slide. So now what I'm going to do is I want my students to explore Mars. So I'm going to go to add slide, and under content, I'm going to go to 3D. And over here, I have like tons of options that I can choose from of 3D images that students could explore. Over here, I'm going to pick Mars. So if I double click on it, I can have my students use their mouse to spin the 3D object, okay, and investigate it. So this is pretty cool. They have like cells, ancient buildings, things like that. So first I want them to investigate that. The next thing that I want them to do is I want them to take a virtual field trip. So I'm going to go to virtual field trip. I'm going to, let's see. Oh, they already have a Mars virtual field trip. I'm going to select that. If I double click on it, I can roam. So then after they view those things, I want to know what their opinions are. So now I'm going to add a slide where they can interact with it. So if these are all my content slides, I want to add an activity. So I'm going to add a collaborate board. And it looks, you have an option for how it's going to look. I want mine to look like a cork board. So I'm going to enter a topic and I'm just going to ask them a question. I'm going to say, what do you already know about Mars? What do you want to learn? And then I could insert a picture here of Mars if I wanted to, and I'm going to save it. Okay. So you'll see what that looks like later when I can show this to you. But basically what happens is it looks like a board, with pieces of paper on it. So each student's response becomes a piece of paper. And everybody's is visible. Okay. Next thing I want to do is I want to add another interactive component. I want to add a video, but I want it to have like questions embedded in it, like Edpuzzle. If I go up here to video, it's going to take me here to Edpuzzle's library of videos. And I'm going to search Mars. I could search Nearpod's video library, or I could search YouTube. So if I want to search YouTube, maybe I'll select this video. And as you can see, you can add an activity at certain times. So as the video is playing, if you want to stop the video, you can stop the video and then add an activity such as an open-ended question or a multiple choice question in the middle of the video. Okay. I'm not going to do that for the sake of time, but you can. I'm going to press save. So then I'm going to have my students do that. Now my students are going to read, a text about Mars, but before they do that, I want to add some vocabulary in there. I want them to hear the vocabulary. So I am going to go up here to slide, and I made a little slideshow from Google Drive, like in Google Drive with some of the vocab. So I'm going to go click here, and I'm going to go to my Google Drive. And what did I call it? I'm going to Google, so I have to go, whoops. And here's my slideshow. So this is going to open, and all of these slides are going to be in order, and the students can just scroll down. So here you can see my vocabulary slides. There's just 2, satellite and orbits. So I'm going to have my students look through that. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new slide. And yeah.
Real quick, so on the vocabulary, you can make slides on your Google slide and then insert them as a slide for them to click to play on this?
So what it's going to do is I'm going to show you in a second, but it's not going to, they're not really going to play with them. Basically what they can do is, so when they open it up, it looks like this slideshow, right? Like they're going to be able to scroll through them, like go up and down through them.
Okay.
It would probably be good, if you separated them into breakout groups at this time in their Zoom meetings, and then they could, interact with each other and talk about them. But there's also a really cool activity that I want to show you under activities where you can do matching pairs. So if I click on this, I'm going to add a pair. So I'm going to either enter text or an image, and I'm going to say satellite, and then maybe I'll add an image of a satellite. and then they're going to be able to play a game where they have to find the matching pair.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So there's that. Mo, in these activities, you're always going to see this add timer button. So if I want to add a time to this activity, I can, select, okay, you have 3 minutes to do this. And now there's the timer. Oh, I have to add a second pair. Okay. So now I'm going to save my activity. So now the next thing I want them to do is I want them to do a reading. So basically in my Google Drive, I have this PDF here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, hold on one second. I'm going to pull this out. And I can drag and drop files directly in here. So I'm going to drag and drop this passage. Oops. Won't it let me? Or I'm just going to click upload because that might be easier. Oftentimes, if I had this downloaded to my hard drive, I would just be able to open my hard drive and then drop the file in. If you have it saved to your Google Drive, you might just have to click on the choose from any of these options and then select your Google Drive. All right. So I want to create this as an individual slide. It will break up your PDFs if you want it to. So now it's processing my file. It's going to appear here. Basically, I have a few options of what I could do with a file that has text on it. So it's now 2 files. So it separated because it was 2 pages. It separated into 2 files because I said I wanted it as individual slides. But you could keep it as one if you wanted to. I could leave these as is. So if I double click on this, it is a static slide. So if I wanted to read this to my students, I could just click this audio button here, read it, and then it would save the audio and the kids could click on the audio. Okay. If I wanted them to take notes on it, which is another option, I'm going to say, I didn't make any edits, but I'll say yes. If I wanted them to take notes on it, so say I wanted them to listen to it, and then I wanted them to go read it and take notes on it, I'm going to convert this to a draw it. Okay, so I'm going to click here. I'm going to convert this file to a draw it file. And now, if I double click on it, the students can add notes. So I might say, annotate the text. I'm going to add it. I could add a timer. I could add a visual if I needed some, additional help. And now my students can annotate the text, either with, the drawing tools or with the text box, or by adding images if they needed to. Okay. Finally, I want my students to answer some questions. So I'm going to add a new slide. I can go up to activities. I can either, I have many options. I could do a multiple choice question quiz. If I click on that, I can write my question here along with the, the answer options and select the correct one, and Nearpod will automatically grade it for me. Again, like I said, any of these interactive slides have timers on them that you can add. Okay. So, you know, I'll say Mars quiz. My question is, what color is Mars? Red, green. I can add additional answer options, and then I'm going to select the correct one so that Nearpod grades it for me and save. And finally, at the end here, I'm going to add an open response activity. Okay, so I'm going to click open-ended question. I'm going to write my question here. So why do you think we should explore Mars? And then I can enable student audio recordings. So if I had students who were not strong writers, perhaps, you know, I had EL students, perhaps I had students who had low literacy or were just young, I can enable audio recordings so that the students can record their answers with voice instead of writing them. So I would click that and save. And now I have a complete lesson. I can move things around just by clicking on the slides and dragging them, so I can switch the places of the slides. Just to show you, there are many options of types of content that you can add. I would encourage you to look through them. I'm not going to go through them all. And then also the different types of activities that you could add. So you could add a flip grid, you can add a poll, a memory test, a fill in the blank. You have tons and tons of options here for the types of activities that you can insert. So then I'm going to save it and exit. And then I would just launch it like I did any other lesson. Does anybody have any questions? Hold on, I cannot see everybody, so.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is there a way to make it mandatory that they record themselves? Like I'm thinking, like I could have kids record themselves reading for fluency practice. Is there a way to make it so they have to do that, or would you just give that instruction verbally?
I think you would have to give that instruction verbally. Yeah, that is a good question though. The other option that you could do if you didn't want to make your slides in Nearpod, or if you already had slideshows that you just wanted to modify with interactive slides, is to use the add-on. And I'll just show you very briefly what that looks like. So if I go here, you know, I'm in my slideshow. I want, you know, this is my first slide. I have a question. How do they make you feel? I want them to respond to that, you know, on the computer, and I want to see it in Nearpod. All I have to do is go to add-ons. Oh. So this should have been in.
I was just going to ask you that because I yesterday added this in and I couldn't do Nearpods. It's not, we don't have access to it this way.
So they did push it out. I'm going to have to email tech. We had emailed them to see if they could get this for us before this tutorial, but I don't know what happened. So we're going to have to ask them why it's not working, but we should have it. It is something that we plan to get. So it just appears that it's not working at the moment. But I can show you what it looks like. I did download it to my personal Gmail account, so I can show you what it looks like in there if you do want to see. So here we go. So I'm going to go to, okay. So I have the add-on here. I'm going to click on Nearpod, open Nearpod. it appears over here on the right-hand side. And it just, allows me to add in any of the kind of content slides that I had available in the Nearpod platform, or any of the interactive slides that I had available in the platform. So, I want to ask this as an open-ended question. I can just go up here to, where does it say? Open-ended question. And then what it's going to do is it's not going to put this directly on your slide. It's going to make a new slide right after it. So it's not going to be like, oh, your cute slide that you've formatted, and then they just click on this and it still shows the same formatting. It's going to come up as, a regular Nearpod slide. So then I would put my question, how do they make you feel? Enable student recording, save. And now you're going to see when it finishes loading that on the next slide, it has created this Nearpod interactive slide. So that's the only thing about this. This is great if you already have slides and you just want to add interactive content to it, but just know that it's not going to modify the slides that you already have. It's just going to add Nearpod slides to your slideshow. Okay. And then once you've modified a PowerPoint or a Google slideshow with Nearpod, it automatically saves it in your Nearpod library, so that's where you would access it. Okay. So that's it. I know that was actually a lot, and I went over about 20 minutes, I'm sorry. But if you have any questions, just let me know. I think it'll be, a really great tool for encouraging interaction during this weird time. Okay. So I do have one tech question asking if it's possible to roster a student that's missing in Clever, or if it should be done at the administrative level. I would contact your department head and or assistant principal for help with that. I wouldn't add them in directly myself. Any questions? Any other questions?
I just put one in there.
Oh, in the chat?
Yeah. Can you share a slideshow you create?
That is a really good question. I feel like there is an option to share a slideshow you create. Let me take a look, and I can tell you now. Yes, you can. So hold on, let me screen share with you.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, so here I am in my library. I want to share my Mars slideshow. I'm just going to click the share with teachers button. You could share with the preview link only, or you could have them have this editable link as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, and just so you know, so if you are teaching multiple classes, what you're going to want to do is when you assign it to Google Classroom, you're going to want to assign one session per Google Classroom. So if you're teaching like social studies and you want to assign the same lesson, you want to make sure that you're assigning them different sessions. So for example, if I click teach, so I can view my active sessions. So this one is already active and launched, but I don't want to, I want to launch a new student-paced lesson for them for my next Google class, or for my other Google Classrooms. So then all I have to do is just click the student-paced button again, and it's going to launch a new session with a new code that you would then add as an assignment to the second Google Classroom. Okay, so you just don't want, you want to make sure you're not adding the same session as an assignment to everybody, because with the silver account, you can only have 40 kids on each session. One more question in the chat. So somebody's asking about Nearpod in Peer Deck and how they compare. I haven't used hold on, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. So I haven't used Peer Deck extensively. I do know that a lot of the features on Nearpod that are available, like a lot of the similar features that are available on Peer Deck are only available with the premium account. So like being able to draw it, seeing, who is writing what in response to answers. Those are only available with a premium account. You can get a 3-month premium account with Peer Deck for free as like a trial.
It's 30 days, I think.
I found a link for a 3-month one.
Oh, really? Well, this is
Yeah.
better. I think I'm going to go Nearpod anyway.
Yeah, I think that this is cooler. Well, first of all, you're going to be able to use it for a lot longer. And the other thing that's different about them is that Peer Deck's interactive activities integrate directly into the slide itself instead of creating a new slide like Peer Deck would, like Nearpod would. So that's the big difference. Like the free version of Peer Deck doesn't have the same functionality or the same amount of features that Nearpod does. And if you're only going to have it for a month or 3 months, you might want to just start using Nearpod. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. Like I said, I'll put this recording up, so in case you need to go back and take a look, that's available to you. I hope it was helpful.
Very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Can
you.
we send you
Fran.
an email if,
Thank you. Sorry.
Adrian, can we send you an email if we have a question?
Of course.
Okay.
Sapino.
And will this be the recording of this? I want my teammates to all watch it. Will this be on the technology resource website? Is that where you're going to post it?
Yeah, I'll send you the link directly and I'll also post it there.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
No problem. I'm
Have a
glad.
good weekend.
You too. Take care.
3 days, guys.
Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.